Hi! Welcome to this part of my guide and review featuring the FlexTale Solo Adventuring Toolkit. If you haven't seen the other parts of this guide and review series, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about searching for clues. As always, I am going to be reading some key paragraphs to you, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on those paragraphs. Explicitly searching for clues should be exercised just like any other search. You make a relevant skill or ability check. You can use Flex Table 6 Quick Start Difficulty class on page 37 to generate appropriate difficulty classes for such checks. Now, when it comes to clue finding by environment, your chance of discovering a clue varies by the type of environment you are searching in. Although there is an infinite number of possible ways to describe environments, particularly in the context of an outstanding quest, the FlexTale Solo Adventuring Toolkit uses general categories as shorthands, such as relevant building, unrelated building, non-player character corpse, monster horde, dungeon or organic structure, divination or magical effect, and social encounter. Let's talk about each of these different categories. First, we have relevant building. A relevant building is a sentient-made structure whose nature, purpose, or current or past usage is related to the quest you are pursuing and for which you hope to discover a clue. If you are working a murder case, the victim's house might qualify. If you are investigating an abduction, the residence of a suspect might qualify. To discover a clue in a relevant building, you must intentionally and explicitly perform a search for clues. Then we have unrelated building. Sentient-made structures that don't have a known relationship with a quest you are pursuing are called unrelated buildings. Unless you have a specific story-related reason for your character to believe that a building is related to a quest you are pursuing, that building defaults to an unrelated building. To discover a clue in an unrelated building, you must intentionally and explicitly perform a search for clues action. If you successfully discover a clue in a building that you had previously thought was unrelated to a quest, you may from that moment onward assume that building is in fact related to a quest. Then we have non-player character corpse. The dead or inert body of a sentient humanoid character capable of language generally qualifies as a non-player character corpse. This is also the category you should use if you are pickpocketing a live or sleeping non-player character. The probabilities in the clue finding by environment table assume that the non-player character in question was somehow related to the quest. When searching the bodies of unrelated non-player characters, you roll on this table with a disadvantage, that is, you roll twice and select the less favorable result. Unless you have a specific story-related reason for your character to believe that a non-player character is related to a quest you are pursuing, that non-player character must be assumed to be unrelated, and therefore you would roll with disadvantage. You would also randomize the quest association of any clue discovered in this manner. If you successfully discover a clue on such a non-player character that you had previously thought was unrelated to a quest, you may from that moment onward assume that non-player character is in fact related to a quest. Then we have monster horde. You may accidentally discover a clue in a monster horde, even without intentionally looking for one. If you have one or more active quests that has a clue target, you roll on the clue finding by environment table each time you search the lair or corpse of a qualifying monster. Qualifying monster means one of two things: either a sentient creature of any type or nature, or a creature with at least as many hit dice as your average party class level. Make this clue finding roll in addition to any treasure table rolls you would normally do. Any clue discovered is in addition to the treasure, not instead of it. The probabilities in the clue finding by environment table assume that the monster in question, or at least their lair or immediate environment, was somehow related to the quest. When searching the lairs or corpses of unrelated monsters, you roll on this table with a disadvantage. When it comes to dungeon or organic structure, you can search any arbitrary dungeon, cavern, or organic structure for clues. The chances of doing so are very small, but it's still possible that someone has squirreled away a backpack with information, misplaced a scroll tube, or otherwise deposited meaningful information in the most unlikely of places. To discover a clue in a dungeon or organic structure, you must intentionally and explicitly perform a search for clues. The probabilities in the clue finding by environment table, slight as they are for this category, assume that the dungeon or cavern question was somehow related to the quest. When searching unrelated environments, you roll on this table with disadvantage. Unless you have a specific story-related reason for your character to believe that a location is related to a quest you're pursuing, that location must be assumed to be unrelated, and therefore, you would roll with disadvantage. You would also randomize the quest association of any clue discovered in this manner. If you successfully discover a clue in a location that you had previously thought was unrelated to a quest, you may from that moment onward assume that location is in fact related to a quest. If you fail in a roll to search a dungeon or organic structure for clues, and the time spent for doing so would normally trigger a roll on a wandering monster encounter table or other risky determination, you make such rolls with disadvantage. Then we have divination or magical effect. Scrying, clairaudience, crystal balls, and many more spells or magical abilities can produce valuable information if used correctly. This is also the category to utilize if you are using social magic on a non-player character who might have information. A charm spell or any compulsion or mind-affecting magics qualify. As with social encounter clue finding, and we will talk about that in a few moments, the probabilities assume that the non-player character you are using magic on is related to the quest you are hoping to learn more about. You roll with disadvantage if you are charming someone who you have no reason to suspect is involved with the quest you are questioning them about. If you successfully produce a clue from a charmed non-player character you didn't initially suspect was related to a quest, you may assume from that point onward that that non-player character is in fact related to that quest. To discover a clue via a divination or magical effect, you must intentionally and explicitly perform a search for clues using the effect, and do so in relationship to a specific quest you are pursuing that has a clue target. If you declare your intent to use the effect for these purposes, cast the spell or otherwise trigger the magical effect and resolve it as you normally would. If producing the magical effect is successful, then you may roll on the clue finding by environment table. Additionally, if you are performing divination magic in a more general manner not directly related to a specific quest, you may still roll on the clue finding by environment table, but do so with disadvantage. Then we have information on finding clues in social encounters. Often, simply talking to the right people in the right way can lead to valuable information. Discussing matters related to a quest with a non-player character via a social encounter can lead to clues. Perhaps obviously, this environment is different from the others, in that the checks involved would be those relevant to social encounters, not merely perception or observation or related to physical searching. The skill check involved should be reasonable and dictated by your rules system of choice. It's worth recognizing that threats may produce information just as well as seduction or diplomacy, intimidate, or even sense motive can all be used to clue hunt. Note that this category refers to the act of talking normally with a non-player character and without using a magical effect. If you are using mind-affecting magic on a non-player character, you should instead treat this situation as a divination or magical effect environment. The probabilities in the clue finding by environment table assume that the non-player character in question was somehow related to the quest. When searching the bodies of unrelated non-player characters, you roll on this table with a disadvantage. Unless you have a specific story-related reason for your character to believe that a non-player character is related to a quest you are pursuing, that non-player character must be assumed to be unrelated and therefore would roll with disadvantage. You would also randomize the quest association of any clue discovered in this manner. In a social encounter with a non-player character, of course, you must clue hunt with a specific quest in mind. Either that non-player character is known by your character to be related to that specific quest, or you are testing out a theory that they might be. You cannot just randomly talk to unrelated people about your list of quests. Asking a given person about a given quest requires a check on its own, and must be repeated for other quests. If you successfully discover a clue in discussion with a non-player character that you had previously thought was unrelated to a quest, you may from that moment onward assume that non-player character is in fact related to that quest. So what do I think about this? I think this is an excellent way of handling the search for clues action that you normally carry out in any investigation, even if the adventure or scenario is not focused on mysteries and solving puzzles and such. There is always something that you can find out or learn about the environment. And here you have these broad categories. Maybe it's a place, maybe it's a conversation, maybe you're using some sort of magical effect, maybe it's related or unrelated to the quest. There are many ways to handle this. With the tables, they could serve as inspiration for you to come up with your own methods, but the method laid out here is pretty clear. You use these tables to randomize things. In my opinion, I think the best way of handling things is making those rolls to see if there is a chance of discovering a clue in the building, when searching a corpse, when looting the dragon's hoard or whatever. And now you use your system of choice, that is the subsystem of investigation. Maybe you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or Call of Cthulhu. Remember, the Solo Adventuring Toolkit can be used with any role-playing game. You make your role using that subsystem of investigation of that role-playing game, and then you are successful in finding the clue or not. But like I said, it's all up to you. It's all about how you want to use these tools. The Solo Adventuring Toolkit provides the material, and it's up to you to decide how you are going to be using that material. And it's very easy to figure out if a clue is related or unrelated to the quest or the case or the mystery. You can make a roll using the tables. You can decide on your own. Maybe you are using your own system of tables with the Solo Adventuring Toolkit, or maybe you are using the oracle located at the end of the Solo Adventuring Toolkit, and you determine that you found a pair of bloody shoes and you're actually looking for a murderer. Maybe you assume that that's automatically related to the quest, that's a linked clue. But in other cases, it could be an unlinked clue, and you can use the tables here to determine in which way it is related to a particular quest. You can randomize the quest or follow a sort of logical thread to it. It's all up to you. Thank you for watching this part of the guide and review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.